If you want.
Well, it's got the mics for you two on that. I speak loud enough; it'll pick me up.
Well, we should just be able to, but
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Well, one thing real quickly is when we were in Uray, I talked to them at the Gator Emporium, and they said, yeah, think there's activity in that place that's old. So I talked to them about the event, but I gave them your card.
Is the Gator Emporium still in there? Because there was one time when Dad and I stopped there and we got stuff at their shop, they were going to shut it down.
Oh, it's open now. Yeah,
Nice.
You can't go downstairs.
Okay.
And the Gators are gone years ago, but I mean, it's really cool. You got a lot of rocks and beads, and it's all open.
Okay.
Nice.
When you walk in the front door.
Yeah, I did like some little skeleton type bowl earrings and stuff and everything. And Dad got scorpion things there, and it was nice.
Oh yeah. So if you're ever down there, I've already given your card.
Okay.
So
they seem interested, huh?
Yes, but I don't know. You'd have to.
Yeah, we'll
if you
definitely
showed
go
up
up there and talk with them.
Okay.
Yeah, if you showed up there,
we'll just have to make a notation of that.
We'll wing it and see what happens.
Sure. Yeah.
Hi guys, this is Seth for Paranormal Researchers Interest Group. And we've got Rebecca here.
Hello, everyone.
Bob Dequinze.
There you go.
Gotta make sure we get that correction there. So it's Dequinze.
Okay. So we're here to do an interview and everything with him. So I guess we'll get started. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what got you interested in the paranormal.
Well, I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and I say in my youth I was never really interested in it because I was born in the late 50s, so I think the paranormal investigations, paranormal ghosts, have, like a lot of things, gone through an evolutionary process. So I mean, it was just stuff that you told, scary stories around a campfire and stuff like that, and that was about it. And that would be about as far as it would go. So then eventually down the road, my parents, as I got older, then they bought me Ripley's Believe It or Not books. And really fascinated with those because they didn't just have ghost stories in there, but there were other things that just didn't add up. And I really started getting interested in it from that perspective. It's like, okay, now how could that be? And so forth. And then that's about it. I mean, I've traveled with the military around the world a little bit, so it was never anything paranormal at all until Ghost Hunters came on TV.
Okay.
And then I started watching that, and thought it was really interesting how they were investigating and doing things like that. And it was just it was a fun show. It was educational too, so it was just fun. And then it was like, I don't know how to explain. When you've gone from just stories, or maybe somebody casually mentioning something and then you laugh at it, and like when you're a youth, because you go back to late 50s, then now all of a sudden they've got equipment, and what's this? And they're asking questions and getting answers. It's like, wow, this is new, and it's pretty interesting. But I never thought that I'd be involved with it. And so when I got started at the museum, then it wasn't really much going on out there, because I started with the museum over 20 years ago, and it was work. We were putting the buildings in,
right,
and a lot of hands-on, and so the tours, we really weren't doing tours at all. So
you saw it made from the skeletal point up, basically, when they started launching it into what it is today there at the museum.
Sure, yeah.
Nice.
And there was never any emphasis placed on paranormal from the start. I mean, it was never part of the plan.
It just kind of happened as you got into it.
Yeah, it was a very slow, gradual process. And because it's a history museum, it's all historical, so it's 1840 to 1940. And so it was little things at first. And I think that when they do that, it's like, I think you try to analyze what they do, what they're trying to accomplish or whatever. And so it's like, I think they pick up on people that are perceptive to things, the people that will listen and you're paying attention. And
Absolutely.
I never went out of my way to say, well, I got to really check this place out. It was never on my mind. We were just so busy, putting
Absolutely.
it
It just kind of
together.
happens along the way,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, it was little things. Cause I'd start to test things.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
good. That's that was a lot of things of how we figure things out.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like debunking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
debunking.
go out
Yeah.
there, we hear noise, whatever, and we go out there and say, okay, was it this? Was it that? We try to figure it out and so forth. So that's actually good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you say was the scariest experience for you to date, and how you dealt with it since?
Um, Actually, believe it or not, I've never never really had anything that was really scary there, and I don't get scared with things like this. Probably from my law enforcement and military background. Went to the Middle East,
Okay.
so I tackle those problems head on, and it's not being a braggart or it's like making myself look really super special. That's just how I am. I like to debunk things. It's like I have a show me the Carfax type of attitude. So,
But you have an open mind, it sounds like.
Oh, definitely.
So,
Oh, sure. Yeah, because when things take place, and it's like I debunk first. It's like, well, you can't always. Oh, that's paranormal. Well, it may not be. So we're going to go down that path first,
okay.
and there's nothing to be scared of. And I think that the entities that are there in the museum, they know that. And they know how to push your buttons, and they say, "Well, he doesn't get scared. So what are we going to do? How are we going to do this?"
Trying to amp it, see what happens as they progress, and be like,
Sure.
oh, well, let's
Yeah.
try this. And nope, that didn't work. Let's try this one. Okay, and do you believe spirits or paranormal entities can influence electronics, animals, and humans? And what kinds of influences do you think they have on them?
Well, let's start with electronics first.
Okay.
In my time there, when I'd have people come through, it's a multitude of things because there's just so many things going on there with all the people that would come through. So it wasn't always paranormal discussions per se.
Right.
So, in going through the museum, then I'd have people begin the debunking process takes place.
Absolutely.
So I remember I had one lady one day and had a new camera, and she was on vacation traveling through, and she had bought new batteries for a camera, and they were all charged up, ready to go. I think she did that at her hotel. She was all set. So she put the new battery in the camera, and she wanted to start taking pictures, but she noticed as she checked the camera for the battery life, it was just slowly starting to go down. And she showed it to me, and it's like, what's this coming from? I just bought these batteries; they're brand new. And it's like, well, I don't know. I started thinking other than paranormal. So let's figure this out.
Absolutely.
So it drained all the way to the bottom and was finished. And it's like, no, that battery should last me, for however long. And then, so she took it out and said, well, I got one more in the car. Let me go get another one. And then she went to the car to get another one, and then the same thing happened. We watched it go down, and it wasn't just that was in a saloon. So there were other places in the museum where I saw people have their electronics affected, and I've had it done to myself personally in other places where they completely mess with it. They won't let you take the picture, or they'll get it blurry, or they'll just shut the camera off. And there's nothing wrong with it. There was nothing mechanically wrong with it, before or afterwards.
And I think our team can relate with you there because recently we went to Museum of the Mountain West. We went downstairs in the old church where they had Ghost Adventures there. There's this wall that has all these signatures on it. We were going to take a picture by it, and we tried multiple times. The camera would not take no matter what we'd done. So we proceeded to walk around, looked around, we tried it again. And at that point, we actually got to take the picture. So we think there was something going on because no matter what you did, even the docent was there with us, tried taking the picture, and he had the same results. So we definitely relate with you with them not wanting pictures taken at certain times and how they can manipulate the electronics because, well, that was definitely baffling that day for us. So
usually with cameras, electronics like that, they don't have a problem They don't have mechanical glitches or power
Mhm.
failures. You'd have to have a real lemon of a camera,
Uh-huh.
and then you'd have to do something with that. But because if you've got consistency with the camera up to a certain point, up to
Mhm.
that point, and then
Yes.
afterwards it continues to work just fine when you leave the place or whatever,
Yes.
then it's only one place for you to go in. And I know there's
Yep.
people that are skeptical about that, but it's just been shown and proven that so many times over.
And that was our experience that day, because it was just like that one building, that location that
It just went
occurred.
kaput.
But other places we walked around with the museum, getting the layout, everything for the tours and stuff that's coming up, that
Mhm.
it worked just fine. And then suddenly there we had that. So, yeah.
And then with pets, Richard Fike, the director there, his dog that they had, Angie, and I don't know if Angie's still alive. I haven't seen her recently. So she would be in there. Along with it, there was another dog that would be in there. And they would act like they were playing with somebody or somebody was playing with them.
Mhm.
And then they'd start running around chasing something. And you can tell the difference between them interacting by themselves or they're just curious over a bug or whatever. And but you could say they were wanting to or trying to interact with something else. It was pretty obvious at times.
Like they're seeing
Yeah.
something we're not seeing.
Yeah, and they're pretty perceptive of things. And it's interesting how that works because we as adults, I think we're really receptive when we're children.
Mhm.
And I've seen that with children at the museum that have come through. And but then when we become adults, all of a sudden everything it just gets foggy and it's gone. But you look back on it, it's like, man, I want to retain that. I want to be able to keep doing that.
Yes, definitely.
Because we had one young boy and came in with his family, and he didn't make it. The entrance was at a different place, so we're by the 1940s doctor's office, and so he came in that way and then made the left turn to go down to the gift shop,
Mhm.
and with his family, and he just stopped in his tracks and. He couldn't move and he was really petrified. So he saw something.
Mm.
He didn't want to talk about it. So I took him into the conference room and sat him down and talked to him a little bit and let his folks, the rest of his family, start the tour. But the mother, being the mother that she is, she was not liking what was going on with her son. And so she said, I want to get my money back and we're going to take him. We're going to leave. And nothing against us, but I mean, the kid was just really petrified.
Right.
So,
And a mother's instinct is to protect that child. So totally understandable with that.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
We would be that same way.
Yes.
Mhm.
Do you believe spirits and paranormal entities can influence? Oh, we already did that question. We understand you also volunteer at the Museum of the Mountain West in Montrose, Colorado. What role do you or did you play on a daily activities, and how often do you volunteer over there?
From the beginning, and this goes back well over 20 years ago. Again, the museum was in its infancy then, and we really didn't have people coming through on tours, so it was all mostly construction, bringing houses out and cabins. So there was no positions or titles in at the time. It was just, well, we've got this to do today, and we're going to do that, and we've got this to build, this to repair. I did the restoration work for them, and then eventually I became the wedding planner and so forth. And then my first position there was curator, and then in that position, I mean, I was a curator even without being a curator because we get a phone call and it's like, hey, we've got a bunch of stuff, and can you come pick it up? So,
Okay.
and then I went from that to assistant director and then activities director. So I've held different positions there, and I'm not a position or title person, but it's just how that museum is. It's like we need people, we need volunteers, we need this job done. Let's get it done, and let's accomplish that. So I'm volunteering there full time, and until about February, March of 2018. And then I've had a few years of a hiatus, and then I'm back. But the only volunteering I'm doing now is for the paranormal. So my health isn't up to doing anything physical. I mean, I did a lot of things back in the past, but I needed the physical activity, And so it was just like, well, we got to get this done. And it was just Richard and myself, and maybe other volunteers off and on. So I've taken on different roles there and under different capacities.
So you have a lot of history there. Definitely.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
A lot to be proud of with that.
Yes, definitely.
And we pretty much already covered the basis that visitors to the museum often talk about it being haunted, which is some of the things we just discussed with the children and different interactions. So we did confirm, like I said, that is accurate. But what are some of your own favorite personal experiences that you've had, maybe an interaction that was unexpected after hours kind of thing? And then also, is it true that there are actual human remains on display there?
I've had a lot of experiences there, besides the general public coming in, because I'd incorporate a ghost story with the tours, but I just did that to plant the seed to see what they would share. So this isn't not to answer your question, but I mean, just on a side note, it's like I acquired all of their stories. And it was interesting to see, what they experienced, what they went through. Was there any consistencies with it and everything? Because I think I was comparing that with what I was going through. So anything that I had happen there, and some of what were minor little things, but the more graphic things that really stand out, that makes people say, "Well, yeah, that can't be, a window left open or a stiff breeze," and so forth. But there was, in the wintertime, it was pretty slow. And so I usually spent that time doing restoration work in the museum and then doing cleaning. And there's a phenomenal amount of work to be done there, even in the winter months. And so this one particular day, I wanted to take the time to dust some of the display cases, like in Furman's drugstore and so forth. And I worked my way down to the gift shop. Now the entrance to the gift shop has got an old door frame, and we incorporated a lot of the older buildings that were donated. So it's not just something we got at Home Depot. So the door frame is actually from an old house, and then the bottom of it is a real big solid framing for the door, and then the rest of the framing, and then the door itself. So when I walked in, the door was already open anyway. So I walked in, and I was going to dust it there. And right behind the door, the wainscoting comes up about maybe this high up, and then there's a crown molding on it. Well, all right, on top of that was our blacksmith. He had made an iron cross, and it was a pretty good size. And I was looking at it. It was laying on top of the wainscoting. So I knew it was secured there, and I could just take a feather duster and dust it off. But I was looking at it, and I'm not the type of person that, talks out loud or anything like that, even though I was alone, because there was nobody coming in that day at all. So I said, well, to me, it has a more of a Celtic or Nordic type of a look to it or something like that, And then I just kept going. So at the end of the day, it was still in there because I had shut the cash register off and shut the lights off, turn on the alarm system. And then I came in the next morning and shut the alarm off, turned the lights on, and there in the gift shop, right on the floor, on the framing, to the entrance to the gift shop was the cross, laying right there in the middle of the floor.
And nobody had moved it?
No, there was nobody there because we had, if they did, then they would have set the alarm off. So the alarms were on. There was nobody in there at all. I was the first one in the morning, and it was right there. And it's like, oh my gosh. Now, the first thing you want to think of is, yeah, there's definitely something going on. But at the same time, it's like, well, how could this have happened, without paranormal activity?
A rational explanation of sorts.
Right, yeah. So I thought, well, I opened the door, and then if it's on the wainscoting, on the trim piece, and it's heavy, though it's made out of iron, and so somebody would have to have picked it up, come around the doorway, and laid it on the door jamb on the floor.
Wow.
And it's like, well, I don't know how that would have happened. So I said, well, what's option B? And that would have been when you open the door, then between the side of the door or the edge of the door and the door frame, there's a gap in there.
Uh-huh.
And I think the gap was wide enough to where it would fit through it. But if you go back inside around behind the door, somebody would have had to have taken that and really shoved it right through.
And you would
that
see some
opening.
kind of marks or something probably to be evidence.
Yeah, and where it would have hit the floor, there was nothing. So my take on it at that time was that they were letting me know that they wanted me to acknowledge the fact, that they were there and they were listening to me and paying attention. And so I thought, like, well, okay, that's pretty graphic, and you got my attention. But then through HPI, come through, I don't know, it was a few years later, whenever it was. I talked to the lady about it, that's a sensitive, and I told her the story.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, there's a woman coming through, and she's telling me, she says, I did it. So it gives a little bit more, if you want to call it, confirmation on that.
Right.
I mean, it's
so a little bit of solving to that mystery that you're wondering about what happened.
I mean, the only thing I screwed up on was the fact that I should have asked her, well, who is she? I never asked her a name or anything, but it's like, I don't think of those things at the time. It's like, wow, I've got to really put this together. This is really...
Absolutely.
I use the word graphic, but I don't know if there's another term for it where it's... to explain that type of an experience.
Exactly. And of course, there are real human remains. We understand that's on display there too.
We do have them in like the 1800s dentist's office, the 1800s doctor's office. So there's skulls and skeletal remains. And we did have with Zach Bagans when he was there with Ghost Adventures. When I was around with him during the filming of the show, then he's kind of, I think he was looking upstairs because there's a second floor in the main building. He's wanting to know, well, what's going on up there. And if you watch the show, then you can see that they did go up there and film. And there's an interesting clip of that on the show if you watch it, where they use the SLS camera and an entity's kind of peeking around the corner, and then I think they were trying to interpret the equipment they were using. So they kind of jumps out of the way not to get caught in front of a gun barrel. It's like, you got to move out of the way, and it hit a 2x4 and knocked it over. That's on the show. They caught that. But
nice.
I took him up there, and I knew there was a skull up there. And then I showed that to him, and we took it downstairs, and he bought it.
Sweet.
So that's one less human marine we have.
But
there.
People can still see the ones at the doctor's office. It's on display there. And
sure, yeah. And I think he took that back to Vegas and put it in his museum.
Nice. And we encourage you to go look and see Ghost Adventures too, and see that clip for yourself.
Definitely.
I believe it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
We did already talk about some of the other teams, but we've researched and discovered you've worked closely with other paranormal groups, such as Ghost Adventures, which we were just talking about, over the years. How did you hear about us, the Paranormal Researchers Interest Group? And what piqued your curiosity about our group?
Well, originally when things were progressing at the museum, it got to the point where really wanted to have it investigated. And I think the TV shows kind of influenced me a little on that. So I wanted it done on a professional level, instead of just somebody coming in with me and say, let's sit here and wait for something to happen. Not that at all. So I contacted HPI, and I talked to Hector Zeffirino, and he was actually he went to Crested Butte one Saturday for the X Games. They were doing a snowboarding thing. He said, well, let me come by when I leave, and I'll take a look and see what you've got. So we had a discussion, and it was after hours. And then while he was there, then he could hear footsteps, somebody walking around and walking up the steps to the 1800s doctor's office. So it piqued his interest immediately, and then whatever else he did at the time. And so it kind of blossomed from there. So there are other investigations, and then he was connected with Western State College, and Professor or Dr. Mark Todd, he came out with his equipment to do some preliminary work. So with HPI, it was like we had like 3 years off and on investigations and different things going on before I finally said, in between Hector and myself, because we were always trying to figure out whose idea was it first to put it on TV. And it's like, I didn't know. I think we both thought of it at the same time. It's like, if you didn't think of it, I would, or vice versa. So then he got a hold of them and made a contact. So it went to, or it went from there to the Ghost Adventures TV show. And then after that, then it was getting in touch with you folks because of the activity that we've had in our own house, and then a continued activity at the museum. So it's like the activity at the museum is not going to go away. It's always there.
It's always going to be there because of the artifacts and the history of each individual item.
So was it due to the museum that you contacted us originally? Or?
Oh, yeah. So in going out there, I did an event last September, and it was just like a meet and greet for the public. I wanted them to, because they saw me on a TV show, but it's like, let me share some things with you and show the museum and everything. And then I thought, well, we really need to have, again, not that we haven't had it done in the past, but because this goes back, like with Hector, we go back a long ways there, at least 3 years prior to 2017. So another professional investigation where we got the more up-to-date equipment. And because I think you have things now that Hector didn't have back then. So things have evolved on that from that perspective. So a more up-to-date investigation needs to be done on a professional level. And it's also for archival work for the museum. Not that they get approached about things, but I mean from different entities. But if somebody says, okay, well, you say you've got activity and you had an investigation, what are you talking about? So the museum has credibility from a historical perspective, but something like this, they need to be able to have a presentation for somebody. They got to be able to say, okay, here's their presentation or their investigation, and you can review that, and this is how this was done professionally, and so that people will realize it wasn't just on a whim.
Absolutely. They go back and they have records, documentation if they have questions. Definitely.
Right. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, and then do you happen to have any personal paranormal evidence of your own encounters that you would like to share with us today?
Well, I do have a couple pictures.
Okay.
I can share. One was from a tourist that had come through, and it's the different opinions or different thoughts on what it is that's coming up off the floor. And this is in the railroad section house. There's a lot of activity in there. And it appears that there's one entity in particular that's, not say stuck there, but he's there on a consistent basis. So, but that doesn't mean that that's what you see here.
Okay.
But this, and how do we want to show this?
So if you just want to turn it around for folks to see it, kind of point out what it is.
So you got the picture. This is the interior as you walk in, if I'm thinking correctly, of the, which house is it?
This is the section house.
The section house. And you got your old style stove with going out there and stuff like that. And you see the little spot here. That is a picture of a orb or a manifestation type situation that can actually come up about in any picture and stuff like that if they're willing to show themselves.
Now, some people thought that it looks like an angel that's got wings and everything. So, and if it is, like a manifestation of something other than an angel, it could be that too. Like we're talking about, you can see some arms, a torso, and a head and everything. So,
okay, you can definitely see where it could be construed as an angel.
Yeah.
You press play
it didn't even hit 30.
Did it go smoothly?
Did you get it back on?
I got that one back on, but it's still on.
something shut it off, huh?
This one here just now hit 2943. This one here wasn't even at 30.
Okay. See, there we go again. Sometimes even with our equipment, we have things go on. Sometimes things will automatically shut off, and there you go.
And usually it's at that 30 point. It
Yep.
wasn't tonight, so it might be something going on again tonight because we know this has definitely been a house of activity.
Yes.
And this one was taking of the Empire House, taken at night, and this would be off of Miami Road. So this is actually looking at the back of the Empire House from the road. And you know, when you're doing photography at night or even just outside, period, there's always, especially here in Western Colorado, there's dust and debris and everything in the air.
Definitely.
Always.
But it looked like we got some orbs in there, and I noticed you noticed too that there's a red light in there. If you want to point
If
it
you
out.
want to zoom in the camera, you've got your on the bottom here. See if I can find it again. There it is.
Yeah, if it's not so blurry.
Now bring it up to the camera a little bit as well. So you got your backside of the 19 house and stuff like that. Right here is a red light, which it's right up here as well. So you got two different pictures here.
Sure.
Right there, just above my finger is a red light.
It might be hard to bring up on the camera,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but that's okay.
But anyway, right there, I'll zoom, try to get a little light on it.
Makes it worse.
Just right up there next to my index finger is where the red light is. And then on the bottom picture, right there by my thumb, is the same light, same two different pictures.
You don't understand.
But the same light aspect.
Definitely an interesting happening there.
Yes.
Lots of orbs.
And back when these pictures were taken, we really didn't have. I want to say we didn't have the SLS technology.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in its infancy, so you'd have to buy an actual SLS camera.
Gotcha.
And now you've got the phones, so now there's a lot of evidence that can be generated and has been since it's come about. So this is more primitive, but it does speak a lot about the activity, like at the museum.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really interested in the SLS technology and where it's going to go in the future. Because I think in the future, I was thinking about it the other day when dealing with, this woman was talking about, I guess a grandbaby that was on the way or something like that. And she was talking about the ultrasound technology. So it's like it's a 4D, it's a 3D, it's 4D now or whatever. And it's like, I wonder if they're going to apply that to like SLS technology.
Maybe.
So where you're going from a stick figure to a net energy to an actual, something more to work with.
That'd be something to see. Definitely love to see that progression moving forward.
Yeah.
Oh, in closing, do you have any words or advice for our viewers out there watching, excuse me, watching today in paranormal community?
I think that when you're doing investigations, maybe this is a common sense type of thing, but there's statements to make, but it's like you have to be respectful of the entities you come across, the spirits. You got to be very respectful to them. They've lived their life and they're now, if you want to say, on another dimension that's still here where they can interact with us. But we've got to be respectful of that. And then also, like with the museum, it's a history museum. It's historical.
Mhm.
So it's not all about the paranormal. So, but like I said at one time, some years ago, it's like you can't have paranormal, you can't have ghosts without death. So I think it's just being respectful of them, respectful of people's property, their homes, and their families, whether they agree with it or not. But I mean, it's an educational process too. So I think you need to use that type of approach. Not that it's a fun thing and we're just going to go messing around at somebody's house. I mean, it's these investigations have evolved to where it is today, and I think that's probably the best advice I can give. You're going to do it right. So.
And I have to say that I agree with you because your words that you gave us that you referred to, you said it's all connected. You can't have ghosts without death, death without people, a future without history. And obviously, you don't have history without people.
Mhm.
So it is all connected together. I mean,
Definitely.
these investigations help people realize this or put it into perspective because I think we're all in search of something. What happens after you die? Is there something that lives on? I mean, there's all these different questions that people have. So I think that kind of
Mhm.
gives us a little bit of insight into that.
Definitely. And that's what
So.
the history does, is it actually gives us a history lesson within the past to kind of learn from so we can make better decisions, go about our ways better and stuff like that to understand how they used to live for one, speaking of the paranormal and stuff like that. Because you could actually have one item sitting in a certain spot all the time that you come in, place there, and it moves to a different spot. Maybe they had that same exact item or thereof,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't put it there, so they move it to where they always put it. It's like as if I came into Bob's house and moved this crystal or something like that. This is where he's always had it. I had it over here and stuff like that. We have to be respectful for those type of situations and stuff like that.
And another thing I want to add to that is you take somebody, say, from 1600s that died. A lot of things back then, they were burning people at the stake, calling them witches for different things that happened. So if you take a spirit that's gotten from that era into our time frame, we have all this modern paranormal equipment. They might look at that as, oh, that's witchcraft from
Right.
their perspective. So it's always kind of good to look at that era compared to now. And like you said, be respectful, be mindful.
Well, one quick story I have, and it's I forget what year it was. It was like when the story came about. It's a true story that took place in Britain. The Great Plague, when that was happening in Europe, didn't happen in Europe right away. I think it originated in other different places, but like in Spain and other places. It worked its way up into Northern Europe, into Great Britain. But this one family at this estate, they were saying that they could see a female apparition. And then she would be, and I know it's a lot of consistency with this too, where they never put their feet on the ground. They're always above the ground. And she was traveling across the property. And they wanted to have somebody look into that, but they didn't have, like we have now, investigations or anything. So I think they contacted the local priest. And he came out and he saw it as well. So he saw this young woman, this apparition, come across the property, but she ended at a certain place. And I don't remember now, it was like she was at the place or pointing towards it, and then she would disappear. So they could never figure that out. It was like, why would she be doing that? And in that particular direction, it was always towards this one end of their far end of their property. And so then it was like a year or two later, then the Great Plague, then it worked its way through Britain. And where this apparition was going towards was an area where they were burying all the bodies.
Oh, wow.
That's where all the bodies were being taken to. And so I think it is so. Does that have a historical connection? Oh, yeah, most definitely does. I mean, she was trying to tell people that something bad was coming, but that's going to be involved. That part of your property or that section is going to be involved in that.
Her way of getting their attention drawn to something that was going on.
And that's the other thing there too, is like you were saying, from they may have it moved or something like that. They're just trying to communicate with us, say, hey, something's happening here, something's happened here, or is going to happen, because they know some things better than we do, but we don't want to pay attention or situations like that.
Yeah, we brush it
And-
aside as something else.
We're just
Oh, yeah.
sometimes you just got to be open minded to all aspects of life, whether it be past, future, or present. Yes, we live in the present. But if it wasn't for history, we wouldn't be in the present that we are now.
Hmm.
And we don't know what the future may bring. We make our future.
Hmm.
And when investigating too and being respectful of them, you're remembering too that those people, those spirits, are the ones that created that history in the first place. Where you're at, if you're in an old fort or an old colonial home, they probably built it.
Hmm.
So respect needs to be paid to them.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Always.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. We also want to ask everyone out there watching to stay tuned in the next few weeks ahead for a very important surprise reveal. A little treat for our very special paranormal researchers interest group nation.
Until next time,
Mhm.
when the eerie becomes reality.
We'll see you then. Happy huntings, everyone.
Happy huntings, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you very much.
No,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.